have to have more, and more means security, and I drive past their house or their buildings or see their nice car they just bought, and I want something. I need that. I got to have something like that. I got to have what they have. Maybe that's your stronghold. Or maybe this one, control. Maybe you just have to be in control. If I'm not in control, I'm going to get hurt. So I'm going to manipulate the situation. I'm going to manipulate people so that I'm safe and I get what I want, and I got to be in control, and I got to know what's going on at all times in everybody else's life and control all of that. I can't trust anyone. Maybe that's your stronghold. Here's one, individualism. Is that your stronghold? The only person I can truly count on is me. I don't let others in. I don't ask for prayer. I only need myself. Okay? That's the only person I need. So I'm not going to get close to anybody. I might be married and have a couple kids, but they're never going to get close to me because you never know. Maybe that's your stronghold. Here's one. Self-guilt. Every bad thing that's ever happened to me is punishment for my past. It's just the choices that I've made. Listen, the Bible teaches that the punishment for our sin, this is some great news, the punishment for our sin was laid upon Jesus. It's laid upon Jesus at the cross. That's where the punishment and the wrath for your sin went. How awesome is that? Okay? But the stronghold says, no, not me. Jesus may have died for other people, but my sins are, so he's punishing me for the rest of my. That's a stronghold. And there are people that think that way. There are people that think that are just miserable all the time, that my life is this way because of the choice, and even though I'm a Christian, God's just sitting up there every day, putting the hammer down on me, punishing me. And that is such a stronghold because that is not God's heart. Now, there are consequences for our sin. There are things that can happen because you sin. But your punishment, that was laid upon Christ. Pride. Pride. I'm pretty great. I cheated on my wife. I don't go out to the bars. I don't swear or tell dirty jokes. I'm really pretty good at my job. I'm pretty awesome. Pride. Pride's a big one. Pride's a big one. And a lot of times pride's easy to spot in a person because a lot of times you can tell who the prideful people are because who do they talk about? Who do prideful people talk about usually? Themselves, right? It's pretty easy to spot. So I don't know if that's a stronghold of mine. Just see how much when you're out among other people that you're talking about your stuff and what's going on at your house. Because if you find that to be happening a lot, check yourself. That might be a stronghold. And then rebellion. Nobody tells me what to do. I do things my way. I don't care what my wife said. I don't care what my kids said. I'm going to do it my way. I don't care. I rebel. I do it my way. My way is the most important way. My way or the... It's a stronghold. It's a stronghold. Idolatry. This one also sneaks in pretty darn easily in our culture today. It's also in our culture more maybe better would be termed materialism things. Maybe that creeps in, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to get that thing. I'm going to spend all of my time and energy on that thing. My mind, when I have a little bit of time that I'm not doing much and I'm just sitting there, my mind's going to go to that thing that I just have to think about, and it just dominates. I'll be honest, sometimes I struggle with this one. This can be a stronghold for me. Whether it's getting projects done, whether it's something else that's going on, I can get to a place where I get so singularly focused on things that becomes a stronghold. And that's something I have to look at a lot. So maybe that's yours. Maybe you struggle with that too. Maybe you get involved. Maybe it's a hobby. Maybe it's working on stuff. Maybe it's projects. Maybe it's whatever it is. Maybe it's your kids. Maybe you idolize your kids. And all of your time is spent planning and plotting their next game, their next practice, their next where they have to be, getting them the best shoes. Maybe it's your kids. Listen, you can idolize your kids. And that's a stronghold if you are. Because anything that you put ahead of God, God may take out of his way if you're a Christian. So putting your kids, telling God that your kids are more important than he is, as a parent, that's the worst thing you could ever do. But maybe that's your stronghold. Maybe that's it. So, another one, fear. Fear can be a stronghold. Something bad's coming. I just know it. I have to know what it is, and I have to be able to anticipate it and what I'm going to do about it, and I'm just going to store up a lot of stuff so that I'm ready for that bad thing. And fear is a horrible place to live, and it can be a stronghold. And people that live in fear can pass that down to their children. And that anxious, what's coming, and we're not going to make it, and fear. Fear is a stronghold for some people. Maybe it's yours. Here's another one. This is a big one. I think this is a big one in our culture today. I see this everywhere I go. It's a stronghold of unforgiveness. Okay, I can't let it go. I'm not going to let it go. You don't know how bad they hurt me. You have no clue what I've been through. And I'm never going to let it go. And every time that name comes up, man, I just can't wait till something really bad happens to them and their family. Man, I just, every time that name comes up, I go to a place of anger and resentment. And I hate when that name even gets said. Unforgiveness. That is a stronghold. And I got to tell you, I see a lot of people during the week. Nobody forgives anymore, including in the church. Unforgiveness is rampant. Maybe that's a stronghold. Maybe that's a stronghold. And then 48 pairs of shoes at your house. More vacations. More time out on the lake, on the fishing boat. Going to drain the bottle. Going to buy another lottery ticket. Whatever that thing is that you do to escape the things that God wants you to be working on. It's another stronghold. These are all massive, massive strongholds that we have. And I know I have several in here. Several of these that I struggle with. And I've been struggling with. And I got to get my thinking different on these things or everything's going to keep going. And that's not great. That's not what God wants. He wants to see us progressing day by day, month by month, year by year to be more and more like Jesus. So nothing's different until we begin to think differently. So locate your strongholds. Figure out what they are and then start trying to destroy them because that's what our ultimate goal is. So, things blow up through our own decisions that we've made. So we're going to look at 4 real quick examples of that. So the first one, back to the story that we're looking at, is that Jacob didn't have to keep bargaining with God. So we're going to flip back a chapter to chapter 28 for a minute because I want you to see what happens in verse 10. This is when he's going out to find Rachel. He hasn't found Rachel yet. This is on his journey to Laban. And it says this, Genesis 28:10. Jacob left Beersheba and went toward Haran. And he came to a certain place and stayed there that night because the sun had set. Taking one of the stones of the place, he put it under his head and lay down in that place to sleep. These guys are really... I'd rather go without a pillow, to be honest, and use a stone, but that's what he did. So he has this dream in verse 12. He dreamed, and behold, there was a ladder set up on the earth, and the top of it reached to heaven. Behold, the angels of God were ascending and descending on this. I'm not going to go into a lot of depth on this because I've covered this last year at Christmas up there when I was preaching, and we've talked about it before. But if you go to John chapter 1, verse 51, you'll find there that Jesus tells Nathanael that Nathanael is going to see the angels of God ascending and descending on him. See, Jesus is that ladder that links mankind to heaven. Jesus is that ladder. He clearly says it in John. So that's just kind of neat that really nothing here is happening that wasn't planned out in eternity past. What he sees here was revealed, and later Jesus confirms that this was a revelation about himself. So that's pretty amazing. So Jacob sees these angels coming up and down on the ladder, and it's pretty amazing. So I got to get to the next page. So, back to Genesis 28. Here's what he says. This is just amazing. And behold, the Lord stood above it, and he said, I am the Lord, the God of Abraham, your father, and the God of Isaac. The land on which you lie, I will give to you and to your offspring. Your offspring shall be like the dust of the earth, and you shall spread abroad to the west and to the east and to the north and to the south. And in you and your offspring shall all the families of the earth be blessed. Behold, I am with you and will keep you wherever you go, and I will bring you back to this land, for I will not leave you until I have done what I have promised you. That's pretty remarkable. That's pretty remarkable. The God of heaven here is repeating the Abrahamic covenant. Every place that you have walked in this land, it's going to be yours. You're going to inherit this, or the sand of the seashore. Jacob, you are going to be blessed immensely. That's what he tells him. That's what he tells him. So, to you what God said to him. So, this is what God says, because I want you to get the impact of this. The Lord said to him, I am the Lord, the God of your father Abraham, and of the God of Isaac. The land on which you lie I will give to you, to your offspring. Your offspring shall be like the dust of the earth. You shall spread abroad to the west and to the east and to the north and to the south. In you and your offspring shall all the families of the earth be blessed. Behold, I am with you and will keep you wherever you go and will bring you back to this place. For I will not leave you until I have done all that I have promised you. So, what is Jacob going to say? Verse 20. Then Jacob made a vow saying, what's he say? What's the first word there? What's the first word there? If. God has just promised you all of this. If. So watch what he does here. This is amazing. Just appears to Jacob in a dream. Shows him everything that he's going to do for him. Tells him some really amazing things. And then this is what Jacob is going to do. If. Really? So Jacob's going to do a deal. Jacob's going to do a deal. That's what Jacob does. He's a deal maker. And that's what he does. God's just promised you, you don't have to do anything to earn this. I'm doing it for you. And Jacob says he's going to make a deal. That's what he does. So he starts negotiating because that's one of his strongholds. He goes back to deal making. And Jacob's like, well, if you do everything for me, and really if you read down through there, really the everything, just let's look at it a minute. He says this, if God will be with me and will keep me in this way that I go and will give me bread to eat and clothing to wear so that I come again to my father's house in peace, then the Lord shall be my God. So what's he asking for? What's his deal? Just give me what? It's just really two things. Give me some food. Give me some clothes. You do that, I'll worship you. Does anybody see an issue with that? How much had God promised him? Everything. Just food and clothes. Wait, you're going for a wife. Don't you think that would be helpful? Nope. I just want food and clothes. You take care of my basic needs. I'll take care of the rest. That's the deal he's making here. I heard what you said, God, but you just give me the food and the clothing. I'll take care of everything else. And if you do that, you'll be my God. That's what he says. Do you see the stronghold that Jacob has? I mean, I would hope that if God showed up to any one of us and offered to bless us beyond measure and give us everything that our heart's desire could ever ask for and say that he would keep us and be with us through anything we're going to go through. Hopefully we wouldn't be saying, if you just keep us warm in the winter and give us some clothes, hopefully we wouldn't be like that. Hopefully we're not like that because God has promised us. In fact, I think the way that he phrased it was, I will not leave you or forsake you. I hope one of your strongholds isn't going around to God, well, if you just keep us warm this winter and we make it to spring, hopefully you're not doing that like Jacob did that. But that's what he's doing. Just awful. It's just awful. It's his stronghold. It's his stronghold. So if you let me have clothes and some food, then you can be my God. That's what he says to him. And then God would probably be like, well, that's kind of what I've been waiting for, right, is for me to be your God. Kind of been waiting for you to let that happen because he hasn't. And it's just awful. It's a stronghold. Jacob didn't have to keep bargaining with God. He didn't have to. God was going to do it all for him one way or the other. He didn't have to keep doing that. And remember, this is nothing new in his life. Do you remember what his mom, remember the story, we went over this months ago. Hopefully your memory's good. How much did she have to do that? She didn't. But she had to because she didn't know if God would really do what he said. That passed down to Jacob. If. That's how Rebekah was, his mom. It's a stronghold. He didn't have to keep bargaining with God, but he did. All right, we're down to about a minute left. So we'll end there today. Any questions? We got a minute or two left. Or thoughts about Jacob and his stronghold, or about strongholds in general? right. Then we will close in a word of prayer. Father, I thank you for this time this morning. I thank you for being able to come here together and to worship and to study your truth that's found in your word. I just pray that you're with us as we go through the remainder of this worship period, as we go through the remainder of our day, as we go through the remainder of our week, to just give us boldness and courage in you, that you would give us safety and that you would bless us as we go out from here, and that you would return us again to this place to worship, maybe later today for the program, or if not, next Sunday when we come back together to worship. And I pray these things, Father, in the name of your Son, Jesus. Amen.